In this lesson, we're going to look at ranges in Ruby. A range is a sequence of data. For example, the numbers 0 through 9 are a range. The letters A through Z are a range. And we can define our own ranges, as you'll see here in just a moment. Let's get started looking at ranges by opening up the interactive Ruby shell. If we want to define a range, we provide the starting value, 2 dots, and the ending value. So for example, 0 through 9 would be represented like this. A through Z would look like this. If we want to define our own range, we can do it like so. So this range defines words, or 3-letter words, as AAB, AAC, AAD, and AAE. The range is a very flexible data type in Ruby. Once we've defined a range, there are also methods we can call on a range. So for example, if we write, now we have a variable letters that stores the range A through Z. We can test to see if a letter is in the range like so. It returns true because H is indeed a member of the range A through Z. We can find the minimum value. We can find the maximum value. We can also display each of the members of a range like so. I used put S there so that each letter could be on its own line. I could have done it like so. I always have trouble typing that bar. And you'll notice I left out the curly braces to start that, so let's go back and add that in. I actually typed a parenthesis by mistake. Let's fix that. I was thinking about putting the letter inside the parentheses for print. Let's add a curly brace to end, and there we get our letters all on one line. You notice the way each works. Each works by specifying a variable which is going to be used to pull out each member of the range. And then once we've pulled it out, then we can do what we want to with it. We specify that variable by putting a bar before the variable name and a bar at the end. That's kind of a weird syntax that you've probably not seen anyplace else. So those are just some of the things you can do with ranges. There are other methods you can use as ranges, and there are other uses for ranges. The uses we just looked at are for ranges as sequences. Later on in the course, when we get to loops, I'll show you how to use ranges as conditions. We're going to save that. But we can also use a range as an interval. In other words, we can test to see if a value fits inside a range. For example, if we write letters and then 3 equal signs, which is called the case equality operator, then we can determine if a particular letter is part of that interval or range. Interval would just be another way to say range. So for example, if we write and then write, we'll see that value is false because 100 does not fit in the interval 0 through 9. So those are some uses of ranges, and like I said earlier, when we get to loops, I'll demonstrate how to use ranges as conditions. I don't want to introduce that now, since we really haven't talked about loops yet. We'll come back to that. So with that, we're ready to wrap up this lesson and move to the next lesson, where we're going to talk about arrays. One of the interesting things we can do with a range is by calling a particular method, turn it into an array. And we're going to see how to do that in the next lesson.